We don't have a proper intro yet, so welcome back to the podcast. That's what I'm going to lead with. We've got Jamie Harrison in.
What's happening?
What's happening? Heavy that.
It reminds me of the first time we met was Liverpool.
Yeah.
Like podcast, literally was it? I've not met you before. We'd just been chatting like Instagram, like connection.
Was it? Hey, mate, it seems... How long ago was that now?
2 years, maybe?
For me. That's long to
Yeah, I think January 23.
Oh, fair.
Yeah. And then after that, I came to that event, didn't we?
Yeah,
That was a
I
vibe,
remember you
that
doing the event. Yeah, it was good.
We just like went on for like an hour, just back and forth.
Do that a lot, to be fair.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to answer some questions about building fitness businesses. Obviously, me and Jamie you do a very different kind of process now, don't you? But Elevate did have something quite similar.
Do you want me to go through it?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so we started in the influencer game, right? So essentially people with like big audiences that if you want to look at it like this, nurtured over time, because they were just doing fitness related content that was either beneficial or proved that they were in fucking shape, because even the landscape then was different when it was like you could post a picture of your shirt off and get leads, that kind of vibe. But they didn't have a sales process, setting process, anything in the back end really, so they had all this attention, they weren't doing anything with it. So we turned that into like high ticket sales, right? So driving leads to a call, close at high ticket, so on and so forth. But in that influencer space or whatever, or if you have an audience with a good TAM, so like total addressable market, whatever, and you're providing value, you can go low ticket, right? It's an easier buying decision. You go click to purchase. So what we do at Elevate or Apex, whatever, is we have two things. We have done some high ticket. We're away from high ticket a little bit at the minute, and we're focusing on content creators and building them their own app or platform that they drive traffic to their sales page, and then it's click to purchase. Now, obviously, click to purchase, you have to have higher levels of trust, right? Because even though the fee is smaller, people still aren't going to buy if they don't trust you, right? So it might be 30 a month, 40 a month, depending on the value stack. And it's automated programming. So people will shit themselves there and be like, oh, I have no control. But we program the software to give packages that they're happy with, essentially. And then they'll get a new plan every month. So it's totally custom to the individual. If they want to train 5 times a week, if they're advanced, if they're a vegan and they want 3 meals a day, and their goal is this, and they start at this point, it'll give them...
Was it just like an AI-based form that they put it in and then the AI does the work in the background? And
Yeah, so when they sign up. So they go to sales page, they make a purchase, and then it'll ask them some questions. So it'll be like, the first things are height, sex, and metric or imperial, right? Because it depends where you want buyers from. Then what'll happen is that's the only time it'll ask that, but then it'll ask like, things for nutrition. So it'll be like weight, body fat. Now body fat will be like a sliding image, so you don't have to go and get it measured. It's just like, oh, I look like that one. Right, you're at 20%. And then it'll be like activity level. So you inactive, lightly active, but we typically do that at like steps. So someone might train 3 times a week and not really, and have a sedentary job, and I
find doing steps is so much easier to figure that out though.
Well, that's what
than saying lightly active, because like when I used to be a PT back in the day, you'd see so many people would be like moderately active, and you'd be like, what do you do for work? And they're like, work in an office. How the you put moderately active? And they'd be like, yeah, because I like walk the dog in the morning. I'm like, yeah, but you do no other steps during the day. Like, you are not moderately active, you are inactive.
So subjective. So like
it's really difficult in it to actually explain to someone. That's why steps is great, because they can just go on the phone and go on an average and be like,
yeah. So and that's what I mean. So like, for example, so they'll put in their activity level. So we kind of change it to steps now, because we know that X thousand steps is inactive or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Because someone might go to the gym 3 times a week, work in an office, and they're like, yeah, I'm very active.
Yeah.
And that's where the software would kind of initially might give them too many calories because they've misjudged it. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, they'll put in their activity levels, they'll put in their goal, what type of diet they want, vegan, pescatarian, general, whatever. And they'll put how many meals, allergies, intolerances, all that good stuff. Same with training, whatever level, how many times a week. Harriet's even got one that's called Busy Bitch, which essentially means you've only got like 30 minutes to train.
Yeah. So you can customize all of this.
All of that. And then what we typically get the creators to do, the software can do fixed or variable workouts. So if it's variable, we program like a master sheet. So let's say it's got X number of chest exercises in there for, clavicular fibers or whatever. And the system will pull one of those exercises itself. And then the next month, if they're on a similar program, similar goals, blah, 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 it'll pull another one.
Yeah.
Right? But that there's some degree of control for the creator, but you're allowing the software to do its thing.
Yeah.
Now, if you're really into training, you might look at that and be like, "Ooh, I wouldn't have programmed that." Maybe, because you're allowing the software to pick it up. So what I typically get, or what I get the client success team to do, or creator success team, is do fixed so that the creator has control. Two reasons really. We want like congruence between what the audience sees on their social media. If the athlete, if the creator, athlete never does a certain exercise, never does a certain exercise and they're getting programmed it, or do you know what I mean?
Or if they're saying things on social media like, "Don't do this exercise because it's shit, do this one," and then they get programmed the first one. Yeah.
So what I get them to do, so there's congruence, but also conviction in a sell or in the marketing. Like it's like you can't sell your packages if you. It's like people who've never sold fucking anything and they get on a sales call, they can't fucking sell it because they don't believe in it.
Yeah.
So once they believe in the programming, it's easier for them to talk about on social. So
still selling, isn't it? It's just a different sales mechanism.
So we do fix, so like they have control over the workouts. And then every month the clients or the creators' clients will get new programs and whatnot to go alongside their billing cycle. So when they pay their 30 or 40, they've got a new custom program. And but like then we put a weight step in. So if they do really want to look at it and go, "Ooh, what's this person getting?" But in reality, you don't do that when someone's paying 30, 40 a month. And also, like, you look at Harriet's got 3,000 and some clients. So that's 3,000. Let's call it 3,000. It's 3,233 as of this morning. And she can't write 3,233 workouts.
No chance.
And 3,233 or whatever nutrition plans, but the software can. So it allows them to focus on content, which is ultimately what's going to grow the business.
I agree. I think it's a good idea. I think when we speak to people about low ticket stuff, or people want to do low ticket, the reason why I have a problem with it is because it's coming from a lot of coaches that are doing everything manually. So they're like, "Oh, I'm going to do like this 99 quid. And you're like, "Yeah, but what are you going to do for that 99 quid? And I know there's always going to be scope creep. So like they start off by saying, "Oh yeah, but I'll just use templates and I'll just do this and I won't do check-ins." And then like 6 weeks later, they're like, "I've decided to add check-in," because they don't get the sales that they want, because they don't have the available audience big enough. They go, "Oh, how do I get more sales on this? Because my sales aren't working." And they go, "I know, I'll make it better. I'll make the service better. So I'll do check-ins. Right, I'm doing check-ins now. I'm doing this. I'm doing a group call. I'm completely customizing your workouts from scratch." And then a month down the line, they end up fucking doing full-on personal training for like 99 quid a person, which, as you start to grow, just becomes an undoable thing. Mate, like they just can't do it.
You have to have, I wouldn't say a big audience, because there's creators with 30,000, which is not big, right?
Not for like what you'd call an influencer.
But doing 30 grand a month low ticket. But what they do have is a good total addressable market in there. So where we would judge total addressable market, for example, we have some software before we speak to a creator, we'll do an analysis, and based on the data that we have, we can work out how many sales they're going to do based on all this stuff. So for example, give a really, like, someone's got 1 million followers, looks great, doesn't it? Like you're a woman doing fitness content, you've got 1 million followers. You're like, fuck me, that person's going to do well. But let's say of that 1 million, 90% are men, because the pervs or whatever, right? So you're 90%.
I've seen that content though.
But yeah, so
I've seen female. There was literally one that when I was doom scrolling through Reels the other day, there was one that came up and it was like proper copy that they'd written like an actual post of like why you should. It was something like why you should get a coach who's been a client before, as in like why you should have a PT that's had PT because they understand what being a client's like. But then the video was like her fucking bent over on a bocce ball, and I was like, what is that actually going to achieve for you, really? Like, you're going to get loads of views, but every single person that comes in via that video, no matter what message you put on it, is there for one thing.
Yep.
And
then what happens is men save it, men share it.
Blah, so blah, then it goes to more men.
Now it's more men and blah, blah, blah. And that's what happens. But even like, look, like a girl could be doing like an actual workout, but she looks good. Like it still is going to drive men.
Yeah.
It just happens. But like not always, right? So we do
you usually see it that way around compared to the other?
Yes.
So like, I bet it's rarer for like a bloke that's got a massive female audience.
Yeah, well, so when we're doing analysis, the majority of the time we look at a guy, we'll never see worse than a 50-50.
Mm.
But I say worse, like we also have the data to show, and you just know this when I say it, that women will still buy coaching from a man.
Yeah.
Men won't buy coaching from a woman generally.
On a whole, yeah.
Yeah. So, for example, going back to that example of a woman, she's got 1 million followers. She's got 90%, so judging the total addressable market, like 1 million followers looks great, going to make loads of money. But let's say 90% of that million are men who aren't going to buy coaching from a woman. That total addressable market's now 100K.
Mm.
But then let's say she's posting in English, but the majority of her audience are 40% Brazil, 20% Spain, 20% Portugal, and then the rest is like United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, whatever. So now a total addressable market's gone from 100K down to 20, right? So it's not always the size of
which for low ticket is then going to start to struggle, right?
Yeah, so there would have to be a high ticket play for that person, which we do through the platform. They just obviously have to give us a percentage and do a lot of the fucking work, which but it does make programming easier because it's done for you.
Yeah.
Right, and the app can do smart check-ins.
But if they're then still doing the setting and the sales process, it becomes a skill problem and a time problem that they probably don't want to do,
so,
right?
Yeah. So yeah, but then back to that point of, let's say you've got someone with 30K, woman, and she's got 95% women, and then it's all in the language, the 100% of them, her total addressable market is bigger.
Yeah.
And then it becomes on quality of the content and authority and whatnot. So
can you not get around that by running ads, or
you can?
But what's the typical ad process like for the low ticket? Like, do you end up paying the first month to acquire the customer? Is it like?
It depends on brand authority.
Right? Yeah, but let's say let's say you've got somebody with a poor available market, so they've come in and like it's a female and she's got mostly men. I'm guessing if you run ads then on there, she's not really going to have a high level. You're going to be able to run warm into that audience because it's going to be fucked. So
you don't go cold. You have to go cold. We have really good results for cold. So if you've got good authority now, you can have authority with the cold market if your content's sick. Do you know what I mean? But what typically happens with a lot of people is they go, "Oh, my engagement's dropping."
Yeah,
because they don't judge it by sales
because the
quality.
Yeah.
They judge it by engagement, so they don't commit to it enough to see a fucking difference. So, but like, let's say they were still putting out banging content. Like, for example, with one creator when we were running ads, high authority, really high quality content, 13K spend over 2 months, front end purchases 75K.
Oh wow!
Right, for that 2 month period. So that's like whatever ROAS. But then the beauty about having the platform is her clients on average stay for 7 months. So that's 13 grand turned into 520 grand.
Christ.
So it can be done, but it typically works. Ads work better for people with high levels of authority, and high level of authority can be a perception of how many followers they've got. Because we're a society that judges people on
and the quality of the content, like all of that stuff, right?
So
and probably how good of a shape they're in.
Yeah. So that's
they've probably not got 1 million followers by being out of shape and not attractive.
There you go. But it's like, I mean, we have one client, and she focuses on the position she was in. She was she was like obese, like big time, and she lost like 200 and something pounds, and she's got a less than 100K. And she launched the other month, she did like 8K week one, which is then recurring. So she got 96K a year business like straight off the bat. And that's no ads, no nothing. So it's like the shape thing is like, so obviously she's lost 200 pounds, great, but she's not like,
yeah, but
do you know what I mean? But for her,
there's a story to go out to the audience then though as well, isn't there? Like,
and she got authority through what she's done.
I think like not the problem, but like the issue I think the issue some business owners have when they get into personal training is that like they've not got in any other reason other than they've kind of just fallen into it. I find that level of the market is really difficult to get a business to work. So like they've done like sport at college, or like then they've got into PT because it was like just a job. They liked going to the gym. I don't think that really transitions really well online, because there's no transformation story of them other than I just always like going gym, so I've been in the gym for a while and now I coach people on how to go to the gym. I don't really think that works very well. If there's no real story, or they've not pushed themselves to that next level and got in like incredible shape to where they become a hero to people.
Well, that's where like Lewis started.
Yeah.
For example, when we launched his coaching, he was in fucking unreal shape. I mean, he had like 1 million followers. And stuff
Yeah.
like that, but yeah, so.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be a struggle if you've got like so far. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're so far ahead, if you built yourself up onto this pedestal, you don't particularly have to have like that struggle story. But I think if you're like a smaller creator and you're coming in with maybe a couple of thousand followers, having a story where it's like, this is where I was and this is what I did and this is where I've now got to,
it's way better
for people to resonate with it.
It's easier to create content as well, because they're like, because you know all them struggles.
Yeah, and this is a problem that I see with a lot of content these days, is like people talk at an audience. So they'll sit there and they'll be like, this is what you should do. 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 And when you're looking at somebody that's like in the mid-20s that is just telling you what to do, it doesn't really work very well for the audience, I find. And it's the same with business stuff. Like if you sit there and go, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, falls a bit flat. Now, the difference of fitness coaching is like, if you're sat there on camera and you're massive or you're in great shape and you go, this is what you need to do, people will go, oh yeah, well you fucking know what you're talking about, because like I can tell. The problem that a lot of coaches have is they sit there with like a hoodie on and then they go, this is what you need to do, and it's like, it's just not really going to land very well with people. Whereas and I see some people do really well with this kind of content, and the reason why it works so well is they share what they're doing. So they're like, this is what I'm eating every day to lose weight, or this is what my week looks like for me to go from this to this, or this is what I did when I went from A to B to C. And I know a lot of people will say like, oh, but you shouldn't be comparing your diet to someone else's, or blah, blah, blah. But all they're really doing is doing what social media was intended for, which is coming on and sharing their profile and sharing their story and sharing their transformation. And I think that kind of stuff works really well for people and starts to build that like tribe of engagement. Like that girl that you said that lost loads of weight, like she could have sold anything to probably for those people and they'd bought it.
She's like, also, it's also, you know, we've got some people with big audiences, right, who don't do as well as you would think on sales because they don't fucking do what we ask them to do, right? What she did really well is her journey's great. People relate to her, but she also talks about how she was feeling at certain parts of the journey and stuff, which resonates really well. I'm feeling like that right now. If I do what she says, maybe I'll feel like she does. But what she does really well is everything we fucking tell her to do in her marketing calendar. You know what I mean? It's like, whereas you have someone with 1 million followers, they don't do what you tell them to do, and they carry on doing their own shit that got them all them followers, because that got the engagement, but he didn't get any trust. Yeah.
And you know what I think a lot of coaches could take from this is, if you're not that kind of person and you're not massively social media based and you don't have that, find someone who is. There's so much work to be done. There's so many good creators out there that will literally do your content for you almost. There's so many good creators that are on that journey where if you were a PT and you were like, I don't really have this massive story, I'm just really pretty fucking good at my job. You go to that person and you say, look, I love your content. I think it's fucking brilliant. I coach the kind of people that follow you. I coach people like you. What I'd like to do is suggest the partnership here where I'm going to coach you. You do the content. You share your journey of everything that's going on. I'll do the coaching. I'll make the sales. Or, you bring the leads in. I'll make the sales and I'll give you 20% of whatever I take.
That's how I started.
Well, it's such a good idea, but I think a lot of coaches are too proud to do it. And I've done it. We had a group program. We did it by accident, actually. It was mad. So there was a girl called Lisa, and I had an 8-week program. If for anyone listening to this, don't run an 8-week program. It's a fucking terrible idea. But I did because I was stupid and I ran it myself and I thought I knew better.
marketplace was different back then.
It was very different back then, yeah, and it was like the first one of its. Now everyone's done it. It's kind of died off a little bit, but at the time it was mint. So it was like 150 quid for 8 weeks. It was £75 a month, and it was like an 8-week transformation kind of challenge thing. Think of those what you will, but I did it. And this girl called Lisa did it, and she already had this massive following because she'd lost like loads of weight previously. So she'd lost loads of weight, built this, and it wasn't a massive following. It was like 40k, maybe. And we'd routinely do like 100 sales on it. And then she did the program. She bought it. She wants to follow me and just bought it. Didn't know. And she got really good results with it. Like every time we used to post transformation pictures, like tons of leads because they all knew who she was. But she started sharing it just because that's what she did. She shared what she was doing to her audience. Our email list grew so much because I just said to her, like, look, if you want to give them these free guides that we've got, because the challenge was already happening by then, and I was full of clients, and I think I had one coach working with me at the time, and he was full of clients, and I was in the process of hiring, so I didn't really have anywhere to put them. And because the challenge was every 8 weeks, it was like an open and shut policy, so it was like I didn't have anything to sell. So I was like, I had this fat loss guide, so I was like, give them this fat loss guide. Loads of them downloaded it, like loads and loads. Every single day I had people coming in, like downloading it. I had a thank you page with like a call booking on it. I had to take the thank you page down because people booking calls and I had nowhere to fucking put them.
Yeah.
So in hindsight, I should have just hired quicker, but you do things when you're starting out businesses that you don't agree with. But I took that down. I had loads and loads of emails, and she just kept sharing what she was doing. And then she finished it, posted the results. Loads of people came down through the email list. And then we always launch by email anyway. So we had this email like series set up, and literally like the same email every time, every 8 weeks, just tweaks for the time of year and stuff. We ran it, and we went from 100 sales to like 375 sales in 1 month. Well, in one 8-week cycle of doing it. And then because we had all the residual emails from it that had like just so many people had just downloaded it, every single time we ran the program after that, it was like 300. And it was, obviously it fucking tripled that side of the business. We went from making 7.5 grand to like fucking, yeah, whatever it was. It was a lot of dough. And it was probably one of the better accidental things I ever did for business. Now, if I think back about it, if I was being really clever, I'd have gone, right, every person you bring in for 150 quid or 75 quid a month, I'll give you 15 quid. I'll give you 20 quid.
What Joseph did.
I fucking didn't do it. I just said thank you.
Yeah.
I just went, because I just didn't think, I just wasn't clever enough to do it at the time. I was like, oh, that was amazing, Lisa, thank you very much, like blah blah blah, like you've helped us out loads. And she never even meant, she didn't position it either. She was just like, oh yeah, no, appreciate it, really good. And then now I look back and I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, it's like people should look at people in their audience, really do a deep dive on your audience and see who has influence.
Yeah.
Like that, because that's what I'll tell that story like that with Joseph on the platform. So the creator on the platform, just one day noticed they had this huge spike in sales, like huge, like, and when I tell the figures in a minute, like you'll see how huge. But he had this huge spike in sales. He was like, what the fuck? And they were all women. He was like, well, I normally sign more men. What the fuck? And this is like the low ticket automation through the platform. And so they did some digging. Anyway, they found out there was this influencer on YouTube, big YouTube woman, and she was like overweight. And she'd actually just organically herself just gone and said, hey, I've lost, fucking 40 pounds or whatever the fuck it was. I've lost whatever. And so then she was going on her YouTube, I've lost this weight, blah, 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 I recommend this plan. It was amazing for me, this, that, and the other, which led to the spike in sales. Anyway, they eventually found her, found who it was, called her, and they're like, thanks for that, blah, 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 do you want to do a collab? And she was like, how does that look? So he was like, well, I'll tell you what I'll do, because he knew, on average, everyone stays for 9 months, right? So he was like, I'll give you the first sale. So if someone comes in for like $40, he was giving her $40 a sale. And they first ran it together and she pushed it. It was in January, I want to say 2022. And he did $600,000 that month, which is then recurring. 50% of the sales came from her.
Wow.
So he paid her 300 grand.
Jesus Christ.
But then,
Imagine what her accountant did when she saw
mate,
that.
but
at the
then,
bank.
then he got 2.4 million off that.
Yeah, I know.
It's like-
Yeah, but this is the problem, right? And this is why I think a lot of people like don't do it, because they're so focused on like every penny being theirs that the idea of that kid wiring her 300, no matter how much you've made, like, you know, you'd made 600k, but the idea of wiring someone else 300k just for being better than you on social media, I think a lot of people struggle to let that go. They'd struggle to send half of their money because they're thinking, well, I've built the platform, I've done this, I've done that, I'm the one that made the sales, I built all the app, I put the however much money into building the app out. And I think you've got to actually be quite a level-headed business person to actually make that decision.
About 40 mil, so.
Yeah, I'm sure he's fine. Well, after making 600 grand a month, I'm sure he's sound. But on the smaller scale, like when we see like PTs do it, like when they're selling £1,000 packages, like I'm not paying them 200 quid. And you're like, why not? It's 800 quid that you wouldn't have got otherwise. Yeah. But all they've done is because they have this like beef with influencers a little bit. They're like they struggle to harness the strength of it.
People get like
they get precious over it.
Well, what happens is a lot of these really good coaches, right, are like, I have this amount of knowledge. I should be making this. When I look at these people who have less knowledge, making blah, and it's like, well, coaches need to realize that they're actually
don't hate the world.
Fucking sales and marketing game. Really.
Yeah,
sales. You know, yes, you've got to be able to coach, right? You can't not coach or get someone shit result. Like, you've got to get it results. But in reality, the predominant thing bringing people in is attention.
Yeah. I think there's a good crop of coaches out there that would make a ton more. I've met some really, really, really good coaches, really smart coaches. And unfortunately, when you go to run an online coaching business, it's a personality game. And like, you've got to be the face on it. Like, until I find a way, and I'll admit I don't have the way at the moment, where you can faceless and personalityless launch a coaching program, you're going to have to play by the rules of you're going to have to get eyeballs on. And even your ads, for example, if you don't have the right look, if you don't have the right copy, if you don't have the right visuals to drive the followers in, you are going to struggle. Like, you're going to pay more per lead. The whole thing's just going to be more expensive. I think there's a good crop of coaches out there that if you paired up with somebody that had the same audience as you, that was brilliant at content, that could capture attention, that was just really motivating, you said to them, look, I will give you 20% of my front end sales. All I need you to do is push this content. I need you to send people to here. I'll coach them. You do the marketing, and it will fucking. I mean, that's essentially what you do, right? In a nutshell, really.
Bro, it's exactly how I started. So, like you, I was teaching, and it was 21, 22. I don't fucking know. I was teaching, and obviously my brothers, between them, 1.6 mil, not making anything. And they were like, I want to make more money. I was thinking, fucking hell, so do I. and obviously with what I'd just been through and so on and so forth, like, don't want to bring the tone down, but my daughter died. So laughing about it, but so that just
everyone
happened.
deals with it in their own way. I know.
So then I was like, oh shit, I don't want to be at the mercy of other people's decision making for the rest of my life. Like, blah blah blah. You know how education is. So I was like, fuck, I'm going to give this a go. So Owen said it to me, and I was like, yeah, leave it with me. Give me 24 hours. So I just went around the line, seen what a couple of other people were doing, which is mad because the guy actually looked at it, and I was like, right, I'm going to copy that. And he came to me like a year later, just wanting a call for some advice. I was thinking, fucking hell, you're the reason I started, pal. Didn't tell him that. But so just kind of took that model out, set it up straight away. And obviously my brothers are my brothers, so we went equals on it because they had the audience.
Yeah.
I couldn't even fucking sell at the time. I've never done a sales call in my life. But I just set this process up and I thought, fuck it, I'll give it a go. Which is what a lot of people do need to think when they're like, oh, I don't want to get on camera, but just give it a fucking go. Right? Could turn you into like a millionaire. Do you know what I mean? And so I essentially set the sales process up. The leads came through. I was doing the sales calls, and then I got my mate to do fucking coaching. And so I was just doing that with other people who had attention, right? So the partnership model is exactly how I started, and it's what we do now, isn't it? We do the back end. So I was doing 200 grand a month without social media. Didn't have it. So like for those who are like, oh, I've not got a big enough following, get a fucking partnership. I didn't, and when I say without social media, it's not like I had a few thousand
No,
followers.
you weren't on it.
I
like,
wasn't
at
even
all.
on the fucker,
Yeah.
right? And that's the partnership model there. So if you're a very good fucking coach, I would probably learn almost social media content planning, because these creators and whatnot, if you can add more value to them, you can take a bigger percentage. So learn how to plan the content that's going to get, because you don't have to execute on the content if someone else is going to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not hard to learn how to plan it. Just go watch YouTube, learn how to plan the content to get trust for a specific group of people, avatar, and then hold someone accountable to fucking doing it. You can find an editor if you really, and a copywriter for cheap on Upwork and Fiverr. Pay them. Do you know what I mean? So you don't have to learn copywriting and whatnot, but fucking, and then you literally do the coaching in the back end, or even better, learn how to sell, right? Because if you then learn how to sell, and learning how to sell isn't like go and watch videos, and that, yes, you can watch videos and whatnot, but you're going to learn by doing it. And the reason I got good at sales quick, but the reason we did so many sales quick is that first post Owen did got 150 leads.
Yeah.
96 book calls straight away. So I was just like, I did my first 3 sales. First night, I was like, right, coming out of college, I was like, I'm going to make some money tonight, close no one, right? And then so you could give up, and like, Owen was like, oh, we closed no one, oh, it's not going to work. I was like, bro, there's 93 calls left, right?
Yeah.
We're going to get money. The next day we did $6,000, and then that was like, you know, so learn those skills that don't require you to be in front of the camera, so you can remain in the back end and blah blah blah. You know what I mean? That's how I did it. That's how I would start.
It's a viable option, especially for a lot of coaches. That
Well, you have nothing now, right? And if you're taking 40%, right, then you've got 40% of something.
Yeah.
You got 100% of
40% of 100 grand's fucking 40 grand, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Whether or not, I think that's the problem.
Well, I was doing 50s actually, and I didn't have the system. But once I'd done it with Lewis and Owen, done 100 grand month one, and they were connected to all these other people. Because if you do it with a decent person, they're gonna have connects, right? And they'll go, well, how are you driving a Range Rover now? Do you know what I mean? Oh, this guy. And that's essentially what happened with me. So it went Lewis Owen, then Joss, then Sergi, then Lipsit, then Thurston. And it was just Stacey Irvin Jr., Jason Collab, and it was just like boom, 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 all these biggest people. They were just getting like half of everyone's business.
Yeah.
Or 40% of everyone else, but like more with, you know, brothers and whatnot. But it's a great model.
Yeah, sure.
And you can fucking make it up as you go. It's wild.
Because
it's actually not that hard to fucking start, is it?
So there's some actionable advice, really. If like you're a coach and you think you know sales and you know how to run a coaching business on the back end, but like you're struggling with for attention and maybe you've just not managed to make it work.
Get a partnership.
Either get a partnership or at least try and get some connections with people that have bigger audiences and bigger creators that can at least drive traffic to your stuff and give you that
oh yeah,
not celebrity endorsement, but like give you that endorsement of somebody that they trust. Like people will I've seen some data, I can't remember, so I'm not going to fudge all the numbers and make it up like I remembered it off the top of my head. But like one of the highest levels of authority you can get is an endorsement from somebody that they trust. Yeah. Like trust transfers really well. So if they go like, oh, I trust them and they know them, so I must be able to trust them as well. That actually works really well. That's like a really high level of trust transfer.
Yeah, I mean, this guy that we know lives in Dubai at the F1. Sold his first business for 30 million before he even launched it.
Yeah.
So he kind of knows what he's doing. And he knows quite a lot about ads and blah, blah, blah. And he was actually saying to me at one point, and I never did it because I don't think others would let us do it, but he was like, run an ad as that individual from their ad account promoting your business to their followers, right? So the ones that are coaches will see it and be like, fuck me, like, he really trusts these guys. Well, it's the same thing. Yeah. And he was like, that's the most effective. And like an idiot, not done it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I trust him.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. Lots of actionable advice there for people that maybe are struggling or don't like content. If you don't like content and you hate the process of it, then potentially partner with someone who does.
Yeah, I was doing content when I had the other page before I lost it. And I didn't necessarily like content. I'm fine at it because
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
teacher, I was in front of you. Like it was easy, but I didn't was like, oh, content day, sick, right? And obviously, you just get better over time, right? And but I love it, like, because our marketing model is not content driven; it's fake referral driven, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, so I don't have to do it anymore, which is great. But
It just gives you a day back of your week, though, as well, doesn't it?
well, yeah. I mean, if you don't have to do content, you can focus on the other fucking shit. You know what I mean? So
Just get good at something.
get good at something of value. I would personally learn fucking sales. Right.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I would say. Because sales leads into setting, all that kind of stuff. I always, someone stopped me in my way. These lads were, oh, sick car, man. They were like, give us a piece of, there's like a fucking one of the things. They were like,
give us some advice for the younger you.
bro, like, I drove past them to this shittest supermarket in the world, by the way. I bought some salami because I'm into salami. And I opened it and it had fucking bugs in there, bro.
In the salami?
Bro.
Nice.
Bro.
Fresh,
And
Means
I
it's
would
fresh,
never eat
doesn't it?
again. What?
That's vegetables.
Bro, so anyway, I digress. So I'm obviously ragging it like a dickhead. And then they were like one end of this place, and then I fucking ragged it past them. And then I see him in the mirror running down to the car. I was like, fuck, I'm gonna get knifed here. Right? And I was like, Mad's gonna deal with that. And anyway, get out in the car, like, oh, bro, sick car, man. They're like, no microphone. We're like, what's the piece of advice you'd give? And I was like, fucking learn sales, mate.
Yeah.
So what I say,
No one's ever asked me advice in a supercar. They've usually just gone wanker. Drive
bro,
fast.
so right, so check this out. So I had the car on the port, didn't I, like a dickhead, and which has cost me 10 grand in all taking the car there, by the way, because of the
Oh, with the
knife.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah, someone knifed your paint, didn't they?
yeah, someone knifed. So they went through the PPF, through the paint, all the way to the metal, and it was over the wheel arch. They were like boom, 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 and then down.
I was taking the time on that.
Bro, like someone either knows me and really didn't like me, or just saw me get out and thought.
Wanker. Yeah.
But like, so there's one time I was on the port and this guy, like, I had the windows down clearly, and this guy was walking past pushing a pram, dad, right, and he goes, English wanker, and I'm thinking, you're English, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
I got out of my car once. There's some kids in the car park at Sainsbury's and they like asked me to rev it, so I revved it, and then I've come around the corner and this kid's gone like that out the window at me, because obviously he's not seen the kids, he's just heard me revving the car and then come out of the car park. He's on that. I don't know why, but sometimes I just have this, you know what, I'm not having that. So I put the handbrake on and got out and he fucking ran off, the little bastard.
oh, go on, lad.
Yeah, fully grown man as well, ran off.
Must have been big at the time.
What?
Must have been big at the time.
I don't know, I just don't think he expected me to get out of the car.
Yeah.
I didn't expect a middle-aged man to actually start jogging away from me.
Mate.
To be fair, I make it sound like I was like really going to do something, but he wasn't jogging that fast. If I really wanted to catch him, I probably could have done. Even with my fucked up knees,
I was about to say.
I could have got there. Yeah, I can get all right in a straight line. It's stopping that's a problem.
Yeah.
I just ran into him.
Like
Imagine.
Nero.
Yeah,
Fuck.
yeah, done the body slam.
Oh, mate.
But yeah, that's English people though, innit? You just
Bro.
fucking hate you doing well.
And I was nice out there, bro. Like, so one time I pulled.
I always let little kids sit in it and stuff like that. It's one of the best things about having one.
Bro, so I did that. So I went, is that Elliot, my mate, said to me, he was like, I always like if anyone says it, I always say, do you want to sit in it, bro? Because he goes, that might be the moment where they go, I want to work hard,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. So I went to the car one time, and I dumped the car on the port, and because I was pissed. Or I got pissed afterwards.
Yeah.
And it was in England semi-final, right? So anyway, dumped the car on the port, and then I went back to the car to dump my bag off or something. And these kids were like, oh, sick car, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, do you want to sit in it, bro? And he was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was like, fuck it, do you want to turn the engine on? And then he sat there revving it, and then his mate went, can I have a go? I was like, yeah. But then these other kids, it was like a queue of 7.
Yeah.
So I stood there for like 15 minutes. Whilst all these kids were getting in, or 10 minutes or whatever, just giving it a rev. But everyone thought, who's this dickhead?
I'm so borderline autistic that if somebody doesn't ask me, I won't offer it because I'm worried that if I'm going to offer it and they're going to go, why the fuck do you want me to get in your car, you wanker?
Yeah.
So there was some kid in it, I swear, like, when I go to Tesco, it's not even, like, because I'm going to Norris now, like, I drive it everywhere, don't I? Whereas usually, so it happens way more. But this kid was filming it. And in my head, I'm like, he's filming your car, asking me if he wants to sit in it. And then I'm like, no, because I might look like a fucking weirdo, and his man might be like, why the fuck are you trying to get my child in your car?
Yeah.
So I just drove off, and then as I was halfway down, I was like, I should have asked him, and I nearly drove back, and I just
Yeah.
thought, I need therapy.
if kids are there with parents and they're saying stuff, I'm always like, yeah.
No, because the parents sometimes ask, and I'm like, as soon as you ask, I'm like, yeah, fine. I just sometimes worry that like people are thinking, are you fucking knobhead? Like, why would I want to sit in your car? Think you're a fucking big man because you've got a fucking SUV. So I just don't, and I probably should. But that's probably some kind of fucking childhood trauma or something. Maybe. Anyway, we'll leave it on that note. Yeah, no. No. Anyway, we'll end on that note. So yeah. If you wanna know, what? Abduction, me being slightly autistic, whatever you want to call it. But yeah. Probably a good place to stop.
Yeah.
You haven't even got anywhere anyone can find you because you don't even fucking do Instagram anymore, do you? There you go. That's the call to action. If you want to just be a fucking ghost and make some dough, find a creator.
You could even title that how to not post on social media or make fucking, like, because that was a theme of it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like part of it.
Yeah. There you go. There's your tagline.